The introduction to the Trojan War and setting the context is a crucial foundation for exploring the multifaceted debate between myth and reality surrounding this ancient conflict. The Trojan War, as recounted in Greek mythology, is a legendary war between the Greeks and the Trojans, sparked by the abduction of Helen, the Queen of Sparta, by Paris, a prince of Troy. This epic tale, principally told through works like Homer's Iliad, has long captured human imagination, serving as a cornerstone of ancient Greek culture and storytelling. Understanding the context of the Trojan War is essential because it bridges mythological narratives with historical investigation. At its core, this introduction sets the stage for an exploration of whether the war was purely mythical, a hyperbolized version of real events, or a legitimate historical occurrence. The significance lies in examining how myths influence our perception of history and the pivotal role they play in shaping cultural identities. For instance, archaeological findings at Hisarlik, the site associated with ancient Troy, offer tangible evidence that could anchor these myths in reality. The archaeological fragments, such as fortifications and remnants of a city that suffered destruction, suggest that a war could have occurred, providing a glimpse into the historical entity that may have inspired Homeric tales. Real-world applications of this historical mythological interplay are evident in the fields of archaeology and literature. Archaeologists strive to uncover the truth through excavations, aiming to correlate mythological descriptions with historical artifacts, while literary scholars dissect these narratives to understand ancient Greek values and beliefs. Supporters of the historical basis claim that the complex interplay of myth and reality adds depth to our appreciation of the past, driving interdisciplinary research that enriches both historical and cultural knowledges. However, challenges persist, as determining the factual accuracy of ancient texts is fraught with limitations, including biased interpretations and incomplete records. Controversially, some scholars argue that the blend of fact and fiction in these stories is virtually inseparable, questioning whether unearthing the truth is possible or even necessary. Setting the context for the Trojan War influences the broader scope of its exploration by underlining the necessity to view myths not just as fictional tales, but as portals to the cultural and potential historical legacy they represent. This foundation is essential for delving deeper into the subsequent analysis of whether the Trojan War is a myth, a reality, or a timeless confluence of both. The heading Historical and Archaeological Evidence delves into the tangible aspects that support or refute the legendary narratives surrounding the Trojan War. This concept refers to the study and analysis of physical remnants from the past, like artifacts, architectural structures, and written records, aimed at uncovering the truth behind the ancient tale of the war between the Greeks and the city of Troy. This point is crucial because it bridges the gap between mythology and history, offering a more nuanced understanding of whether the Trojan War was merely a poetic creation or a genuine historical event. Significantly, historical and archaeological evidence provides a foundation for validating or debunking the myth of the Trojan War. For instance, the excavations at Hisarlik in modern-day Turkey by Heinrich Schliemann in the late 19th century revealed a site that many believe to be ancient Troy. The discovery of multiple city layers suggests a history of repeated destruction and rebuilding, aligning with the notion of a city under siege as described in Homer's Iliad. Additionally, the Hittite texts referencing a city called Wilusa, which many scholars associate with Troy, lend credence to the possibility that such a city not only existed but was significant enough to be noted in documents from powerful neighboring civilizations. However, accepting these archaeological findings as definitive proof of the Trojan War is not without its challenges. Critics point out the complexities in verifying the exact correlation between these artifacts and the mythological narrative. The layering in Hisarlik, while indicative of destruction, does not conclusively tie any single layer specifically to the legendary war, nor does it confirm the intricate details and characters of the epic saga. Opinions vary. Some scholars, like Eric Klein, support the idea that multiple factors, including trade disputes and regional conflicts, could have inspired the stories that evolved into the myth of the Trojan War. Yet others remain skeptical, arguing that the existing evidence lacks direct links to Homer's accounts, suggesting that the war's narrative may have been a compilation of various historical memories and myths. The examination of historical and archaeological evidence not only informs the main topic of the Trojan War's authenticity, but also affects other aspects of ancient history interpretation, including the understanding of Greek and Near Eastern interactions. These investigations challenge us to reconsider how myths and historical accounts intertwine, ultimately influencing how we perceive cultural narratives and their implications for our comprehension of history. The heading Mythological Accounts and Literary Sources refers to the exploration of ancient narratives and written works that chronicle the events of the Trojan War. This concept encompasses the epic tales primarily attributed to Homer, such as the Iliad and the Odyssey, as well as other sources like Virgil's Aeneid and various works by Greek dramatists. These texts are crucial as they form the bedrock of what we know about the Trojan War, blending myth with possible historical underpinnings. The significance of mythological accounts and literary sources lies in their ability to blur the lines between myth and reality, offering insights into ancient societies' beliefs, values, and historical contexts. These sources are important as they provide a narrative framework that has captivated imaginations for centuries and serve as a cultural touchstone that informs contemporary understanding of ancient history and mythology. For instance, Homer's Iliad is lauded not only for its storytelling prowess, but also for offering a glimpse into the martial customs, honor codes, and societal norms of its time. Similarly, the Aeneid builds upon Trojan mythology to explore themes of destiny and heroism, illustrating how these myths have been adapted to reflect varying cultural ideals. Opinions on these sources commonly diverge, with some scholars celebrating them as invaluable literary masterpieces that offer profound cultural insights, while others view them critically, questioning their historical validity and interpreting them largely as fictive creations. Potential challenges arise in discerning fact from fiction. The paucity of corroborating archaeological evidence makes it difficult to definitively prove the historical accuracy of these accounts. Furthermore, ambiguities and the lack of reliable timelines present challenges for historians seeking to authenticate events described in these texts. Alternative viewpoints suggest that these stories might be allegorical rather than literal histories, intended to convey moral or philosophical lessons rather than actual events. Despite these debates, the narratives have undeniably influenced various aspects of the main topic, as they serve as starting points for both historical inquiry and mythological exploration. They guide us in examining how myths evolve over time, reflect social and political realities, and spur the ongoing search for a historical basis of the Trojan War. In understanding the Trojan War's dichotomous nature as both myth and reality, these accounts remain central, driving appreciation for their symbolic richness and pondering their truths hidden within layers of myth. The topic, the role of key figures and deities, delves into the critical influence of both mortal and divine characters in the narrative of the Trojan War, exploring their contributions to the elusive boundary between mythology and historical reality. Key figures such as Achilles, Hector, Helen, and Paris, alongside deities like Athena, Apollo, and Zeus, each played pivotal roles in the unfolding of events. Their stories and actions, immortalized in epic poetry, not only define the narrative but also highlight the cultural and moral values of ancient societies, pointing to possible historical events that have been embellished over time. The significance of examining these figures and deities lies in their ability to bridge the gap between myth and history. For instance, Achilles, one of the most celebrated Greek warriors, symbolizes not just martial prowess, but also the human themes of pride and mortality, while Helen's abduction illustrates themes of love, conflict, and beauty as catalysts for war. In terms of deities, Athena's support for the Greeks and Apollo's backing of the Trojans reflect the capricious nature of divine intervention, seen as metaphors for human unpredictability or external forces that shape historical events. In real-world applications, the city of Troy's archaeological excavations led by Heinrich Schliemann in the 19th century demonstrated the potential historical basis for these myths, providing evidence that legends might spring from real events. Furthermore, the influence of divine figures can be seen in the way societies have historically sought divine rationale for conflicts, seen in various cultural artworks, religious practices, or even statecraft. Several scholars support the idea that mythological narratives often encompass kernels of truth, suggesting that figures like Helen and Achilles may have been inspired by real individuals or archetypes prevalent in Mycenaean society. However, there are challenges to this viewpoint. Critics argue that the stories of these figures and their divine influences are purely fictional creations serving didactic or entertainment purposes, and evidence of their existence is speculative. Ultimately, the roles of key figures and deities in the Trojan War narratives interconnect with broader aspects such as the interpretation of ancient texts and the integration of archaeological findings informing our understanding of history. By examining these elements, we gain insights into the cultural psyche of ancient civilizations and a nuanced appreciation for the complex tapestry of myth and reality.